A single note rose through the trees, low, trembling, older than words. It echoed across the valley, weaving through branches, slipping beneath roots, vibrating deep inside the earth. Moments later, the jungle stirred, not with panic, but with purpose. From shadows, creatures emerged. Deer raised their heads. Birds shifted direction mid-flight. Even the predators paused. Something ancient had awakened, an old song, a forgotten call. And they were answering. No one knew who first sang it, but deep in the oldest part of the forest, stories told of a melody only the wild could understand. Not made by flute, drum, or horn, but by a carved shell soaked in herbs, blown only during full moons, when the jungle's heartbeat matched the stars. It wasn't music, it was memory, sung back to the earth by those who once lived in rhythm with every leaf. And then there was the elder, old enough that most had forgotten his name, though some called him Whisper Walker, because whenever he moved through the trees, it was as if the forest itself murmured around him. He had known this melody as a child, carried on the breath of his grandmother, one last ember glowing in the hearth of his heart. She had claimed no one learned the song. You either remembered it or you'd never heard it at all. He hadn't thought it possible to rekindle such a flame in these times. But lately, disturbed by dreams, he'd gathered the herbs, carved the shell, and begun to seek. Seeking not answers, but a way to ask the questions his soul already knew. It was a prayer without words, an offering without plea. He simply walked and he blew, and wherever the sound touched bark or leaf, the wild things stirred. At first, it was subtle. A rustle in the undergrowth, the fleeting glimpse of startled eyes, the tremor of paws on soft earth. But each time Whisper Walker played, more joined the chorus, some drawn closer by the tune, others summoned by the call of kin. He had no idea how many there were. Too afraid to look, too reverent to count. He saw doe-eyed youngsters nudged by cautious elders, sleek predators pause mid-prow, skittish hares forego their flight, wary monkeys abandon their leap. All to watch, to listen, to stand in the hush of the ancient woods as the notes wove their spell. Whisper Walker didn't seek their presence. He didn't demand it. He understood the melody wasn't his, merely a conduit, so he played, letting the song carry his reverence to a time when his people and theirs walked together under the same sun and moon. He didn't know if any of them truly understood the notes themselves, if the song meant anything more to them than sound. But when it ended, a new sound rose in its wake, not discordant, but harmonious. Dozens of voices blending into one, rustling wings and musk, wet noses and musk, rasping calls and rumbling purrs, sharp barks and high screeches. It was a symphony of acknowledgement, a concert of belonging, a choir of souls recognizing echoes of themselves in the heart of the woods. But the elder wasn't playing for response. He played for connection, for communion, for a remembrance that transcended species, a kinship that challenged categorization. The night he played for the first time since his grandmother's passing, the forest stirred, not in confusion but in recognition. Eyes glowed from underbrush, footsteps softened. Creatures who never shared space stood side by side, sniffing, chirping, tilting their heads in unison. No fear, just silence. It was as if the tune had reminded them they belonged to something bigger, something older than their individual hungers and habitats. A unity woven into the very fabric of the woods. And when the melody ended, a profound hush fell, thicker than the canopy above, deeper than the roots below. In that pregnant quiet, something stirred, a presence more profound than any creature. The elder didn't see it at first, lost in his own reverence. But then, like the rising sun, it bloomed within the circle, suffusing the clearing with its essence. It was neither God nor spirit, but something more fundamental. The spirit of the woods itself, the soul of the ancient trees. It pulsed with the rhythm of the earth, thrummed with the pulse of life, whispered with the secrets of ages past. It wasn't benevolent, not malevolent, but brimming with an ageless wisdom that dwarfed any mortal understanding. The elder trembled, not in fear, but in humility, realizing he hadn't summoned the animals, hadn't compelled the forest. He was merely a catalyst, a vessel through which the wild things expressed themselves. In the end, it wasn't about control, but communion. It was about listening, really listening to the heartbeat of the earth. to the symphony of existence conducted by the wind. The wild things joined the chorus, their discordant voices harmonizing into a lullaby of unity. The elder didn't play for power, played for connection. Some nights the rhythm was mournful, echoing the loss of kin, the ache of empty burrows and silent nests. Some nights it was joyful, celebrating births, blooming flowers, and bountiful hunts. Some nights it was fierce, mirroring the fury of storms, the sting of territorial battles, the desperate cries of the hunted. On those nights, the elder played not to soothe, but to share. Matching the tempo of the tempest, adding his own sorrows and joys to the cacophony of existence. And in those moments, the clearing became a confessional, a sanctuary, a stage. The animals bared their souls, shedding their masks of cunning or cuteness, revealing the raw, pulsating core of their being. In the safety of the circle, the barriers crumbled, the predators and prey, the timid and the bold, standing together, howling, weeping, roaring their primal truths into the indifferent embrace of the cosmos. He didn't know how long they stayed, lost in that primordial communion. Time had no meaning there, not in the ticking of clocks or the passage of seasons, but in the timeless rhythm of existence, where life and death intertwined in an eternal dance. When he finally stopped playing, it was not with a final note, but a gradual fading, letting the silence stretch and deepen until the forest reclaimed its stillness. Then, as suddenly as they'd appeared, the animals faded back into the wild, leaving no trace except footprints in the dew and whispers on the wind. And the elder, left alone in the heart of the woods, would slowly make his way back to his hut, carrying the echoes of their presence in his soul. He never spoke of these gatherings. He didn't need to. The trees remembered, and so did the trail. Some sounds are never recorded, he'd say with a cryptic smile when questioned. They're passed through feeling, through instinct, heard not with ears but with the soul. One day, much later, when Whisper Walker was gone and the elder forgotten, a young girl stumbled upon that clearing. She was lost, afraid, alone. And as the moon climbed higher in the sky, she began to play a melody she'd never learned. A tune hummed by her grandmother long ago, a song without words, an offering without plea. And as the notes wove through the trees, the wild things stirred, drawn by the echo of a half-remembered call. For in the deepest, oldest parts of the forest, the memories of kin run deep. Older than trees, deeper than roots, stronger than stone. And sometimes, in the most forgotten corners of the earth, certain melodies return, briefly awakening those memories, reminding the wild and the weary that they are not alone, that they are part of something larger, wilder, more enduring than any fear or forgetting. If that melody echoed through your imagination, if you felt, even for a moment, like something hidden had awakened inside you, then walk deeper with us. Subscribe, like, and comment on The Forgotten Path, where voices lost to time rise again, and every whisper carries a memory worth remembering.